And then there were four. What's going on, everybody? It's Adrian Mason. It is Sunday, January 19th, 2014, and it is championship weekend. Today, we find out which two teams will face each other and represent their respective conferences in Super Bowl 48 2 weeks from today. Today, the first game, the early game, is the AFC Championship, which pits the New England Patriots against the Denver Broncos. Now, obviously, this game has a lot of history given the two quarterbacks of this era, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. We all know the story. We all know the backdrop. We all know the history. Every NFL network website will dick ride this rivalry, if you can really call it a rivalry, to the death. Tom Brady has pretty much owned this rivalry, and he's taken the Patriots team that he's won 3 Super Bowls with and is looking to become the first QB in NFL history to have competed in 6 Super Bowls. And he takes on the Peyton Manning squad that pretty much was dominant all season. Now, the last time these two teams met, the Patriots jumped out to a 24-point lead. The Broncos came back, and then it went into overtime, and Wes Welker did his old team a favor on the punt coverage. And yeah, New England ended up winning that game thanks to that gaffe. So now, this game here is for everything. This game here is for the right to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. So, looking at the teams here, look at New England. They got here, looking at their postseason journey, they got here because they ran the ball. They dominated on the ground. They basically took it to the Colts with LeGarrette Blount and his 4 touchdowns, and it was a different style of New England football that we've been accustomed to over the years, where Tom Brady is basically airing it out to his receivers, his tight ends, left and right. Running backs get a little bit of rub, but in this game, this previous game, it was all about the running backs. And so now it's giving Jack Del Rio and that Broncos defensive squad something to think about. Do we stop the run? Do we go after Tom Brady? That's Belichick playing mind games here, folks. And for New England, this is a game where they're not even. I mean, they are the underdog. They are the serious underdog in this matchup, and so they've got a bit of a chip on their shoulder. Now, the other thing on the other side of the coin is that New England, in the Tom Brady era, when they've played at Denver, it's not been too much luck, too much fortune, especially in the postseason. I remember they got waxed pretty bad. Like, I think it was it was the 2005 season. It was the 2005 playoffs where New England went to Denver, and their 10-game postseason winning streak got snapped in tragic fashion because they got dominated in Denver. So, while Brady owns Peyton Manning record-wise, Denver feels that they have a great shot to beat him because this game is in Denver. Now, on the other side of the coin, the Denver Broncos, we all know about them. Peyton Manning, big numbers, aerial assault, and now he's starting to get a little bit of a run game thanks to Monty Ball and a revived, in a contract season, Knowshon Moreno. And so, with Peyton having his weapons, the Thomases, Julius and Demarius, Eric Decker, Wes Welker, the aforementioned Wes Welker, he's got his offensive arsenal as usual. I mean, no matter where he plays, he's gonna have it. And the real big test for Denver in this game, obviously, is that Bill Belichick knows Peyton Manning. He knows his tendencies, he knows his ins and outs from the many years that he's played him when Peyton was a Colt. So Peyton Manning is going to have to figure out how to get over Bill Belichick's defensive schemes because it's been working quite well over Peyton's career. The other thing for the Denver Broncos is that they took a huge hit due to last week's game against the Chargers where one of their top corners, Chris Harris, a slot corner, tore his ACL, and he's done. And that's a major blow because now Tom Brady can get loose and get busy with the likes of Julian Edelman or Danny Amendola, on those crossing routes, the short routes, or basically just running them up the seam and forcing linebackers to cover one of those two receivers. So they took a hit there, and then they've already been without the services of Von Miller. So now it's up to stalwarts like Cromartie and Inacho. I mean, in that secondary, they've got to figure out a way to contain the likes of Edelman and Amendola, because as you know, Tom Brady will air it out to those guys quick, fast, and in a hurry. And so, having said all that, my pick to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl is Denver. I think this is the chance and this is the time where Peyton Manning, once again, like he did in the 2006 playoffs against Tom Brady, gets over the hump, and it's going to be a close game. This is going to be one of those, it's going to be like a 28-27 game. And I think Peyton Manning will do enough. I think he will get the final word, the final say, and get Denver into the Super Bowl. So my AFC pick, the Broncos. Now, having said that, now we go to the game that everybody is pretty much penciled in, like they did the AFC. But this one, this game here, this one's like, I don't know. This game should be on pay-per-view. Is how tough and how physical and how aggressive this game is going to be. This is the NFC Championship, and this is an all NFC West NFC Championship. You have the San Francisco 49ers traveling back to CenturyLink, taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Now, as we all know, Seattle ain't exactly the easiest place to play. The crowd noise, the quote-unquote 12th man, which they had to buy rights to that from Texas A&M, frauds. But, yeah, Seattle is not the easiest place to play. I mean, you look at it, in the last 2 seasons, they're 16-1 at home. You don't do that unless you have a really strong stadium, really strong crowd. But mainly it's that defense of Seattle's. Their back seven is what wreaks havoc there. Their secondary, the Legion of Boom, if you will, the likes of Richard Sherman, Maxwell, Earl Thomas, and Cam Chancellor, they get after your receivers and they make them pay. And they cover well. So, for the 49ers, I mean, obviously, the last 2 times they've been up there, they've gotten thumped really bad. 71-16 aggregate combined score, where, Colin Kaepernick has yet to win at CenturyLink Field. He's not had his best games up there, and, obviously there's going to be talked about all day today. Every pregame show leading up to it, they're going to talk about his struggles. And, I mean, it's valid because he hasn't played his best. I mean, he had his worst game this season at Seattle in Week 2. Now, for the 49ers, a little bit, things are different now. Things are a lot different. For one, Michael Crabtree is back in the lineup. And so, where in that Week 2 matchup, all they had to do was roll coverage all over Anquan Boldin and force one of the Niners' lesser-known and, wet behind the ears receivers to try to take on that secondary. And obviously it didn't work. So now with Crabtree back, that's going to force Seattle to actually even up their coverage, because then you got to worry about Crabtree getting open, you got to worry about Bolden getting open, you got to worry about Vernon Davis, and maybe, just maybe, one of their other receivers like Quentin Patton, who's been stepping it up in recent weeks. So in this matchup, where as different as Week 2, no Crabtree. You roll it all on Anquan Boldin, shut him down, you shut the pass game down. Now, the Niners have a better chance. And then on top of that, they're coming in on an 8-game winning streak, and obviously, in order for them to get to the Super Bowl, all their games would have to have been won on the road. They won at Green Bay, they won at Carolina, and now they have their ultimate task of winning in Seattle. And so it's really going to come down to that defense keeping Russell Wilson in the pocket. They've got to stop him from improvising and getting loose, because a lot of his big chunk plays are because the pocket collapses, the pocket breaks down, and then people start trying to go after Wilson, and his receivers can sneak behind the coverage in those big chunk plays that Russell Wilson is known for. He is Fran Tarkenton reloaded. Excuse me. And so that, and then on top of that, you got to stop beast mode. You got to stop Marshawn Lynch, and that ain't an easy task in Seattle. I mean, this man is a monster. Like, he was probably their best free agent acquisition in quite some time, and of course he has his best games against the Niners too. Like I've always told people, there are 2 running backs that give the Niners fits. Well, it used to be 3, but I'm gonna say 2 straight up. One is Ahmad Bradshaw, and the other is Marshawn Lynch. Why? They are violent runners. They don't give a damn about letting the holes get open or anything. They just violently hit the hole and challenge you the minute you touch the pads. And so Marshawn Lynch, he's like that. He wants that physicality. He wants that. He wants that contact immediately. So they got to be ready to pin their ears back and be ready to shut him down, and then force Russell Wilson in the pocket to beat you. Now for the Seahawks, number 1 seed. Last week they took it to the Saints, and now they get their nemesis back for the 3rd time. And of course, like I said, last 2 times the Seahawks played the 49ers, they dominated them in Seattle. And what that really boils down to is making Kaepernick uncomfortable in the pocket. Get him rattled. I mean, he doesn't rattle, but at the same time, he doesn't perform well. And they know it. They know it from week 16 last season. They know it from week 2 this season. Make him uncomfortable in that pocket. Get him disheveled. And really, it's really contingent upon that secondary. Because the thing is that if Kaepernick finds a groove and gets comfortable and starts, hitting Crabtree or hitting Bolden and moving that ball down the field, then now you got problems, because now you got to try to stop Kaepernick in the pocket, and then it also opens up Frank Gore and Kendall Hunter getting loose. But like I said, for the 49ers to stop Russell Wilson, for Seattle, they need Russell Wilson to be able to move around that pocket, to be able to roam and scramble and make things happen, make plays happen, like he's been doing all season. Now, last week he only had 103 yards, but that'll change. So I think Seattle's gonna be geared up. They're gonna be hyped up. Obviously, this is a big deal. This is the NFC Championship. This is the right to punch your ticket to New York, and no greater way to do it than to beat your rival at home. And so, having said that, much as it pains me to say it, the NFC representative for the Super Bowl will be the 49ers. I think they've heard enough about what happened the last 2 times that they played at CenturyLink Field. I think they've heard enough about them not being able to win the big one in Seattle. And they know what's at stake, and they know what's on the line. And they've been battle tested, they've been playoff tested, they've been road tested. Now they feel this is their chance, this is their time to shut everybody up and to get back to the Super Bowl and avenge the loss that they took last year. So yeah, 2019 49ers. So my Super Bowl pick is the 49ers versus the Denver Broncos, and I'm sticking to it. So that is my analysis and picks for Conference Championship Day today, and I will see you in a couple days as we talk Super Bowl. So till then, it's Adrian Mason, out.